I never heard demos of this plugin. I never looked at what it does. I just like the fact it had tubes, cool graphics, and a nice sales pitch. This is Subloom by Mixlane, and I've used it on dozens of mixing projects, and every time I do, it feels like cheating or stealing, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I'll explain in a moment. So what I've done is I've got a session up here, For You by Issa.
Yeah, too crazy, so crazy. I don't know what to say. And she came through with the map of bottom rest. Yeah, she came through looking like a bad bitch. Yeah. Lately I've been rocking on the west.
So I've got 3 parallel channels in this original mix to get that. So I've got this one here, which is just the actual low sub. So I think I've got a band pass there. This is something I learned from Dan Worrell, and then I'm compressing the hell out of it here. So take a listen to this. That's just the sub. It gives it a nice tail, like a vroom. Then I've got another one, but then I pitched it up. So I've done the same thing, but I pitched it down, sorry. I pitched it down. Did I pitch the same one down, but I had a wider band? Okay. It's been a little while since this session, so listen to that. It's the second layer. Okay. Interesting. I can't remember doing that, but I've got 3 layers. So I've got the sub. This is sub down, but it's a wider band, so it doesn't sustain as much. And then this one is the knock. So what I've done is I've just band past sections and then compressed the hell out of them and got a little bit of ring out of the EQ in some. And then ultimately what you end up with is you've got this kick drum here, and then I'll bring each of these layers in. Okay, I think there's a little bit more focus on the knock than the extension in the subs, but they're there as an option to blend in while I'm mixing. So this original kick drum sound, I'm sort of like, it's cool in the mix, but it's, listen to the mix and you can feel this sort of like dark texture to it, this sort of deepness that you want to get out of this kick drum. So just have a listen to the overall mix, and this is just the raw kick unmixed with the full mix. Take a listen.
Yeah, too crazy, so crazy. I don't know what to say. And she came through with the map of bottom rest. Yeah, she came through looking like a bad bitch.
Way too weak. Now we can bring it up in volume, but I just want to sort of play with Subloom at the moment because this is why I feel it's cheating. So I get Subloom up, all right? We're partying. All I'm doing here with Subloom is I'll loop kick drums where the bass is and just flick through the presets. And it's like you're just swapping kick drums out. And that's how I'm using it 90% of the time for mixing, but it is going to change. I'm going to show you exactly how it's going to change when we get later on this video. But just listen to these presets. It's awesome. And then I'll show you what's actually going on under the hood.
Lately I've been rocking on the west. 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 Lately I've been rocking on the
Alien Driver is interesting. Let's just write that down. Okay, Alien Driver. Let's go again.
Lately I've been rocking on the west. Lately I've been rocking on the west. Lately I've been rocking on the west. Lately I've been rocking on the west.
Oh, Deep Boy is good. And this is literally why I think it's like cheating. It's stealing. You just like got the presets there and they all sound really good. I'm not being technical yet. We're going to get technical later in the video and then we're going to unveil some pretty cool shit. But this is why, this is like 90% of how I'm using it. It's like the kick, if a kick drum doesn't feel like it's filling out the space, rather than going crazy technical, I'm just going by feel, almost like a producer would, like trying to find the kick that just freaking hits, right? And this isn't a sample base. This is EQ, saturation, compression, some parallel sub sine waves sort of like filtering into here. Wild.
Lately I've been rocking on the west. 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 Lately
the San Fran is probably the most suited for it and least obnoxious. So let's go into plugin doc. I need to show you a few Hammerstein graphs, the saturation types. So if you go saturation type 1, takes a little while to plot. We're going to have mainly odd order harmonics. That yellow line is the third order. That orange line is the fifth order. So those are odd order harmonics. And then as we go up, it weights itself more towards even harmonics. So if we go number 2, we start to introduce an even distribution of odd and even harmonics. And then if we go to number 3, the even harmonics, which is the green and the red line, the second and the fourth order harmonics, end up being much louder than the odd order harmonics. So you start off with this curve where saturation 1 are odd order harmonics, that's symmetrical waveforms, odd order harmonics. It's typically a little bit more natural sounding. And then as you go towards even order harmonics, it's asymmetrical, so think sawtooth waves. But this is balance between odd and even, and then 3 is mainly even harmonics. So that's important to understand. So that was housekeeping with the saturation styles, and that's going to help us understand what we do when we dial it in from scratch. Now, when I'm dialing it in from scratch, I'm using fader start, which is basically, or flat start, sorry, which is my preset I made to have everything flat, and then I'll take you through how we dial in the kick, and then we dial in the subs. But more importantly, this preset I'm going to send out to people who are subscribed to the best audio newsletter next week, but not just a preset. That's just weak game. I can just send that out to anybody at any time. I'm actually going to do a deep dive analysis of all the parameters with the Plugin Doctor screenshots and my assessment of things we can learn and take away from this plugin and apply to other aspects of our processing, not just using Subloom, but using tools that we already have available. So this goes for people who have Subloom or are interested in buying it, and also people who just have EQs, who have compressors, who have distortion or saturation units. We can apply some of the principles in here into our own processes. So make sure you subscribe to the newsletter so you can get that next week. I'll make sure it's super detailed and written exceptionally well, so that way you can just go in, read, assess, take away information, and apply for your own practices. As I said, it's the best newsletter for audio pros. So now let's jump into this. We've muted the subs, we're going to focus on the kick. So let's just solo the kick, and we want to get this feeling right. I'm just going to go in EQ and do my thing, and then I'll explain why I did what I did. Beautiful. It feels like a kick that resembles that original one, but just with a bit more beat. Now, the interesting thing about that I like with this is you can flick these EQs pre and post, or transient processing with the saturation pre or post, which is really good because you can flick around the order of things to get it feeling right. Now, first, second, third, remember we looked at those Hammerstein graphs? The third one had too many even harmonics. Okay, so it was really aggressive, and that can be cool for some like hard styles of music, especially with EDM. And the first one was too soft. It was too much odd order, it was too warm. The second one was a good balance where the sub sort of carried through, but it still had knock to it, which is nice. Now that's the kick sorted. I can mute the kick, unmute the sub, and now we can focus on the subs. come on. That sounds awesome. Now with this one, I was messing around with the pitch dive a little bit, and that is something I'm still getting familiar with. It's a bit of, like I say, it feels like you're stealing, cheating. It's all dialed in now. I don't have to worry about bringing sine wave generators up and picking up gates and automating things. This is all done within the plugin, which again, it's crazy how good this is. And that kick sounds awesome, but the real test is, how does it sound in the mix? Let's have a listen.
Too crazy, so crazy. I don't know what to say. And she came through with the apple bottom ribs. Yeah, she came through looking like a bad bitch. Yeah. Lately I've been rocking on the west side. I've been off the Molly on the west side. Take a trip from my room to this side.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I wanted to make a video about this when I first got it. I didn't because there were some GPU issues, some graphic issues with Pro Tools, which I spoke about in a previous video where I was chopping and changing which plugins I was keeping, which ones I weren't. And then funnily enough, Jesse sent me an email saying, hey, you know, the update for this was already out. And I'm like, really? And that was what was actually holding me back doing a video, because I didn't want to badmouth something I was using, even though I was using it, but then they had an update. So I did the update. Now I can put the video out, which I'm excited about. And this is only part 1. So if you want part 2, if you want to get all the detail of it next week in my newsletter, make sure you subscribe down below, because I'm really excited to write this report up with all the details, with all the geeky stuff, like the real geeky stuff I love. I could have done it in a video, but the thing is, I didn't have enough time, and I just got super excited to show you this. So make sure you subscribe. Next week in my own time, I'll just be kicking back, having a coffee, writing this out for you, so you got super detailed notes on where to take your kick drums based on some of this information here. So I hope you enjoyed this, and until next time, take care.